We're going to continue by adding a bed to our scene in 2-point perspective. The bed will be on the left side wall of my room, and it's going to extend out, kind of down towards the bottom right. So I'm going to start like I do in every single one of my perspective constructions with straight verticals. Verticals that stay parallel to the edge of my picture plane. So they don't wobble in or out, they're straight up and down. So about 3 inches or so, 2 or 3 inches from the edge of my paper, I'm going to do a vertical that's underneath my horizon line and goes down, and it stops right when it hits the converging line of my floor that made the wall of my room. Now I need to extend this out into 3D space because it can't go back towards the left because that means it's going into my wall, so it's got to come out towards the right. So the bottom of that vertical I just made, I'm going to line that up to my vanishing point way on the right here, and I'm going to draw down towards the right. And I'm just going to go a little bit of a ways because I'm making the headboard first. So then I'm going to do the same thing at the top. So the top of the vertical that I just made is going to line up with my vanishing point on the left, and I'm going to draw down towards the right. Again, just a little ways for my headboard here. Then to connect these sides, I'm going to do a vertical. So where I let these lines hang out in space there, I'm going to line that up with my ruler. Again, trying to keep my ruler as parallel to the side of my picture plane or straight up and down as I can. And I'm going to do a line that connects the two. So I'm making this box that's coming off of the wall, this tall, skinny box that will be the headboard of my bed. So the vertical that I just made, the bottom of that, I'm going to extend this now over towards the right. So the bottom of that vertical, where it met my converging line, I'm going to line that up to my vanishing point on the right, and I'm going to draw towards the right. I can take it back a ways because this is going to be my headboard, so it's going to be the bed space. So it needs to be a little bit longer. Do the same thing now for the top. So the top of that vertical, the second vertical that I made in this box, is going to line up with my vanishing point on the right, and I'm going to draw again towards the right. So I'm basically taking this and making this tall, skinny box in 2-point perspective. The same thing now, converge this line back, but I'm going to take the top back corner. So that very first vertical that I made, the top of that where it met my converging line, I'm going to line that up with my vanishing point on the right, and I'm going to draw towards the right again. Take it over a ways, so I can always erase off my extra bits later. You're going to see that this is skinnier here because it's closer to the horizon line, so we see less of that top surface of this box that will be our headboard. So to end the side right here, I'm going to do a vertical straight up and down that connects the two. Again, trying to keep my ruler nice and parallel to the edge of my picture plane. It's okay if it bows a little bit, we just don't want it to look like it's too much of an angle. There. And then the top where that vertical I just drew met my converging line that's going towards the right, so that top corner right here, I'm going to line that up with my vanishing point on the left, and I'm going to draw back to the left until those two converging lines meet. Remember, in 2-point perspective, we don't have straight horizontals anymore. All of our horizontals go to a converging line. Now I'm going to erase out my extra so that you can see this as a solid shape. And this will be the headboard of my bed in the room that I'm constructing here. So it's basically just a tall, skinny box that is flush with or against the wall of my room. So now I need to make the bed that's going to extend down into 3D space down here. So I'm going to start by just continuing this line right here at the bottom. So where that very first vertical that I meets the floor line, the converging line of my floor. Again, I'm going to line that up with my vanishing point on the left here. But I'm going to continue that line by drawing it down towards the right. And it's gonna go off my page, and that's okay. Again, we're just learning basic construction techniques. We're not really worried about creating a truly realistic or believable scene. So now I get to decide how tall my bed is going to be. So as the artist, I could have it be really tall and tiny little bit of headboard, or really short, but I'm gonna put it about middle, a little below middle. So I'm just gonna make a dot on this second vertical that I made on the side of my headboard here. And that's gonna be where my bed, the top of my bed, is going to start. So I'm gonna take that point, I'm gonna line that up with my vanishing point on the left. Remember, I could decide whatever height it is, but I'm gonna draw down towards the right, towards the bottom of my page. And I'll let it go all the way down to the end of my paper. So this again is making the side of my bed. I can erase out this converging line because you wouldn't see it if this is a solid shape. So now the point that I just made here on the side, again, that's the height of my bed. Now I'm gonna extend it back towards the right of my paper. So that same point that I just used, I'm gonna line that up with my vanishing point on the right, and I'm gonna draw towards the right until those two lines, two verticals, till it meets the other vertical of the other side of my headboard. Because again, this is the bed, and I'm extending it out or bringing it out in 3D space. Where that converging line met the vertical on the far right side, that point right there, now I need to bring it out in 3D space again. So I'm gonna line it up with my vanishing point on the left, but I'm gonna draw down and to the right. So it lines up with my vanishing point on the left, but I can't draw back towards the left because that means it's going through my wall. I'm gonna draw it down towards the right, and just for a ways, just like that. So I'm gonna erase out this part in here, inside there, because again, that is the top of my bed, and you wouldn't see the floor or the base of the headboard through the top of my bed. But we wanna see it as a solid object. So now I need to make the other side of my bed, the side that's kind of going back towards the door in my room. So somewhere along the line here that we made to start extending out our bed, I'm gonna make again another little dot. I get to decide where that is. It could be a super short one if you're making a couch, for example, or longer if it's a bed. It's up to you as the artist. But that point there, I'm gonna take that point, I'm gonna line that up to my vanishing point on the right, and I'm gonna draw towards the right until those two converging lines meet. So that point lines up to my vanishing point on the right-hand side of my paper, and I'm gonna draw a line until this line meets the other side of my bed over here. And then all I'm going to do is add some verticals, or that's the next step, is to add some verticals. So that point that I just made, I'm gonna do a vertical straight down until it goes off the bottom of my paper. So again, making sure that my verticals stay straight up and down or parallel to the sides of my picture plane. I'm gonna erase that little extra corner out that I drew too long. And then the corner where this converging line going down towards the right and the converging line that's going up towards the right met, that point right there, I'm gonna do another vertical straight down. I don't want it to go all the way down to touch the bottom of my paper, just down a little bit. I'm the artist, I get to decide how thick or thin my bed is going to be. Then I'm gonna erase out the little extra at the top. Now where I ended the bottom of that line, I'm going to line that point up with my vanishing point on the right, but I'm gonna draw down towards the left. So that vertical I just made lines up with my vanishing point on the right, but I'm drawing down towards the left. And if we had more paper here, eventually that vertical would meet that converging line we just did. Same thing for both sides, just like making a big box in 2-point perspective. So that's our bed, and again, you can add things to it to make it look more like a bed by adding pillows, stuffed animals if you wanted, blankets, Again, but again, just right now we're learning basic construction techniques that'll help us form these spaces that we can always change to make our own.